in, you know?
911,
There is. I'll touch on it when we get there.
Huh?
I'll touch on it when we get there.
Okay, it's weird. But there might be a difference between a lane, a street, a way, and a road,
You might be right.
and a dead end, I don't know.
Let's see, what have I got in here? Oh, that's a.
there is, I can't remember the.
All right, we're gonna get this
And a private drive.
started at 6 o'clock.
I think it's basically because the county asked us.
I'm here, Tom's here, Marty's here,
I'm
Mike's
here.
here, Barb's here.
We're on the list so we can check it off.
Anything for public comment? Okay.
Oh, Barb, can I get my stuff out of your car?
All right. Can you pass that down to Barb? Can you pass that down to Marty? And those are the materials that you got, Debbie.
Yes, thank you.
Yep. Just a couple quick things. For those of you that don't know what FB stands for, that's slang, as the kids like to say, for Facebook. So, hey, look at that, you know, there we go.
And I'm a baby.
Okay, got my stuff.
So, we have launched the town's official Facebook page and Instagram page, and so we're beginning to build up. Are you not recording, Rick?
Yeah, no, I just want to make sure the volume's up, that's all.
And it has fake news on it?
Yeah, I never find it on. I turn it on Monday and I can't find it.
We are continuing to build some communications models. The e-news and notices, we're holding off on a little while, just to put some focus on that, and then we'll get back to it shortly, probably within the next week or two. So, Jacob is working on that as the intern, and I'm working with him, and so far so good. We're looking for some other opportunities to integrate that stuff. Planning department, just so folks know, the advertisement or job description is probably a better way to put it, has been posted on the website for Phil's replacement. Phil has shared that it is anticipated date of April 21st, that will be his last day of service on site. He may be taking some vacation, etc. to, some final details, don't have a letter, directed exactly for a letter of resignation, but moving forward with civil service, etc., to begin the process for posting, recruitment, etc. So, I want to thank the members of the personnel committee. I know that they have been and will continue to be fairly busy this year with a number of transitions that have occurred and will continue to occur. But again, just like I said, I wanted to keep you folks up to date that Phil is anticipating an April 21st date with that, and working with Trevor on a number of things that relates to transitioning the department. Wastewater, water and wastewater interviews, that department is also going through an interview process currently. Depending on how interviews, callbacks, interest, etc. goes, there may be a resolution for consideration to fill the vacancy post, and the water committee will probably have an opportunity for input on that over the course of the next several days, weeks, what have you. So just want to get you caught up to speed on those items as well. And while this isn't on here, I think it is worth stating again, we continue to be very fortunate to have Rick Rasco serving in the position of department head and advancing the efforts of that department. I know that he certainly worked with Rick and others up front, and I would say by next week, I'm hoping to have a resolution that acknowledges him in some way for some merit pay. He has taken on some additional duties and find a way to recognize that. Also seeking to backfill some of the job responsibilities as well in an appropriate manner. So more to come on that as well. All right, getting into the heart of the meeting. For you, there are the minutes, monthly report. Excuse me. there is a request to attend, the New York Cleaning Conference. There is the 2 million gallon, water tank, as it relates to, some seeker, et cetera. Then there is the
That's the starting of the capital plan for
there
water
is-
tower.
Mhm. There is, the appointment of, Elizabeth Duhan, or also, known in the community as Punky. Often I think people know her more as Punky than, so,
So, can we go back to the 2 million gallon?
Yep.
Sorry,
Yeah,
The
you're going quite
revised,
fast.
the revised that you gave us,
yep,
does that replace the former one?
yes, it does.
Completely replaces?
Yep.
Meg, can you say that again, sorry?
You have a revised copy in there that
Okay, okay.
that replaces it, so, and Scott shared that with me, I think it was today, so, yep.
And, Michael, just to, the appointment of Elizabeth Duhan, which is
Yep.
nice. Is that in addition to the finance committee?
No,
My learning
it's,
curve question.
it would be a roll-off,
A roll-off?
so it would
Okay.
be, she's currently on the committee, so it'd be basically a reappointment.
Oh, okay, thanks.
Then, I know Debbie was asking about, there is a need to amend the naming, and this is why. Okay, I'm writing to ask for assistance to make a change to the resolution for the suffix of a road name. I know it is hard to believe, but I made an error. I sent Jim Woods an email request to have a resolution made with the naming of a private right-of-way of Starfish. I originally sent the request as Starfish Lane, but it should have been Starfish Way. I want to keep consistent with the guidelines that have been relaxed in the past before any of us to identify private ways with the suffix identified as a, quote, way. I do not believe this should have to go to a full board to make the suffix change, but we'll leave it up to Mike, but I do need new paperwork with the road name identified with Starfish Way. Sorry for any inconvenience, and this was from Kelly Donahue. As I said, we may be going through a series of these over the next several weeks, months, or whatever. I can't determine what is on his docket. The reason that I wanted to do the resolution was to memorialize it on our end and to give it to our highway department and stuff like that with the amendment. So henceforth,
Yeah, and it's good to know if it's a private drive,
so,
when you're looking at the roads.
Does that answer your question?
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah.
It seemed to me that at some meeting, and I don't know if it was a town board meeting or something, they talked about the difference between lanes and roads, and I thought there was probably something, but I wasn't sure what it was.
So, that's where that particular item is.
Well, it's good, somebody's trying to get it right.
And, you know, I have to say,
Sorry, Michael.
I have been,
That's a fine.
Now, see, what you find to that, if you have yours, go off, wait a minute, I better turn mine off. Oh,
My apologies to my colleague. That's what happens when you run from one meeting to another. That's not right.
Now we all know who the most important person is.
yeah.
Barb, I will
Thanks for
honestly,
calling me, Debbie.
I will honestly say you are not the first person that's happened to, but I like your ringtone, so,
Thank you.
She's paying me well for that.
Mine doesn't
Yes,
go
I
off,
was
it's
gonna
gonna
say,
hate mine.
thanks for calling me, Deb.
Ring, ring.
all right. The other,
I think you should call Kelly and tell him that, you know, got his letter and there's no problem, but you wanna know if he can be at the next meeting to explain the, request for the right of way. I could just hear the silence on the phone.
well, you know, a couple things too, that I wanna speak of as it relates to Kelly. Kelly has been a remarkable partner, with not only the town of Plattsburgh. I mean, Jim speaks very, very highly of Kelly. And in my short period of time in the supervisor's role, I have just really appreciated what Kelly does for this community. And not necessarily always in the quote, you know, defined role. And I'll use when we lost our colleague, Art. Kelly offered to come and be on site and provide emotional counseling support for the team members here. I mean, that was just remarkable, and it was welcomed, and people felt comfortable. We certainly also use Bonnie Black, but just having Kelly there, he knows many people in the community, and he's somebody that people see him as a pillar of the community.
Yeah.
And then just another quick little note, this past weekend, I had the opportunity to be at an event that ended up using the emergency management facility for an event that was going on, and I had an opportunity to tour kind of the central command, as they often refer to it. The amount of work that those first responders are doing. I mean, a lot of times we think of it's the police or EMT or fires as the first responders. 911 is first responders. I mean, they are assessing the situation, and one of the things that they demonstrated to me, which I thought was really neat, was so many of us use cell phone as a primary phone nowadays, and they showed how you can triangulate where a 911 call comes in with a cell phone, and it was really neat. But the amount of work that they're kind of hustling to do to be supportive of the person that's on the other end of the phone, not knowing what's going on, managing the technical aspects of it, and we're just really lucky, and all of those folks that are behind that do a really good job, and I think it's because of that we're fortunate that we have the volunteer firefighters that work so directly with them, and even the Morrisonville EMS.
Does that work
A lot
just
of
as?
them are volunteers themselves.
Yeah.
Yes.
Does that triangulation work just as good as when I carry my landline phone around with me?
Yes, Tom.
I just check them.
You mean, are they putting you in your living room versus your bedroom? Not so much.
No, I mean, when I take it outside,
So, but I just think that those are some of the elements of keeping our community safe and guarded, that unless you have an interaction with it, just isn't in the front of your mind, and I think that was pretty neat, so. All right, jumping into the other draft resolutions, purchase of two 2017 Ford dump trucks. This as it relates to some need in the highway department. There's
And we discussed at the, when we were discussing budget too.
yeah, there's Jim did provide a letter. He's requesting a resolution to purchase two crew cab dump trucks. These purchases will be made under the New York State mini bid process, and there really is a need. I think one of the things that we often talk about, Jim and his crew, is he's very attentive to the financial picture of his department, and he's not one just to spend. So, and he really nurses his fleet along to do a number of things. And in fact, I think it's worth noting, we made a fleet change with some of our trucks as a reminder, where Dave, as our dog control officer, took over a different vehicle.
Right.
And to cycle that around, Jim actually took over the old truck that our dog control officer was using, put some, minor fixes into
Yes.
it to get it to where it needed to be. So again, really looking at some of that fleet management, and with Jim's help and a couple other people, we're gonna be looking at fleet management, or the fleet in general, not just the management, but the fleet in general, including Goldie and a couple of the other vehicles that we have, to see what can be done, and kind of tighten that up a little bit.
Is that gonna be part of the meeting about the capital plan too? What we need in the future for our roads and things in terms
Well,
of water runoff?
well, let me just put parentheses around it so it's understood, because we're currently going after capital plan for water. I will be looking at capital needs of the town as it relates to other areas of the town. So yes, it will be,
Yeah, so I'm gonna be on that committee.
okay,
Good, okay.
so, looking where we want to constantly, I mean, again, this is where I tell people that, you don't just build a budget in this one little tiny window, you begin to have conversations and look at, you know, what are the needs and impacts and stuff. So we'll continue to have conversations, but I'm a firm believer, and I have said this before, and Tom, you and I may disagree, but I know that we can do it in a collegial way, that there's only so much money to go around, we can't have all things, but we certainly need to have the conversation about what are the needs, where do we wanna go, and how do we start to map out some of those things and prioritize those things. So the earlier we can start to have those conversations will be a good thing, so I definitely welcome
Yeah,
your
and I think
opinion.
to jump to your point about the truck, because I did check in with him about how that was going in
Yep.
terms of the dog control officer's truck, and so there were some minor repairs or cosmetics, but it was very reasonable. Is his succession planning thought, as he, you know, decides to bring someone, you know, if they're elected, obviously, but you know what I'm saying, to have the same philosophy that he has as far as, you know, being fiscally responsible, but also maintaining safety.
He also checks in, like, the engine size is bigger than this, it's a more powerful engine, which they need when they have the sand full, you know, the truck full, and then they're hauling the trailer with equipment on it. So the other trucks weren't doing quite as well with that, so this will be better for that too.
So, again, you know, any opportunity that I have to put praise on the highway department, I will. I mean, we're really fortunate that we have them. They're talented, they've got great customer service. I don't think there's many places in the town that you will go to and folks will say a negative thing about the highway department. You know, certainly a mailbox gets hit from time to time. It's the casualty of the work, but, I mean, the amount of work that they do, is good work, so. Last, item is, ADA compliant curb ramp improvements on New York State Route 3 sidewalks. This is coming from a letter from Brian, who's the regional utility engineer, and I put this through, to, Jim in the highway department, for some review, and again, this is draft, so, you know, we'll examine it a little bit further over the course of the next week, so. That's,
This is up in Katy.
yes,
Oh,
yeah.
So we're going to be actually having new sidewalks?
In all honesty, I've not
It did say new sidewalks.
reviewed every element of this. I know that there's, some need to do some work on the ADA compliant issues. Now, what that means for the New York State, as Jim had shared with me, can be very minor improvements to meet one particular need. So it's a rather small section.
Well, it is, but with our committees and working with planning board, in terms of complete streets,
Yeah,
some
What
things
we're
were
looking at
identified.
here does not, it's very difficult to see the intent of the project.
Oh, I don't necessarily disagree with that.
So before I'm asked to sign something with the state, which, when we're asked to sign it, it's real clear why we're being asked to sign, okay? We're waiving off our ability to complain after they're done, okay? I'd really like to see what it is that they're proposing. To what extent are they going to build sidewalks? Or are we going to have, you know, handicap rampways to nowhere, you know? I don't know what they're proposing, and it would be very interesting to see what it is they're proposing. If they're going to build a sidewalk, there, you know, that's from the Harney Bridge down past Park Row. It's almost like they know where the new commercial building is gonna go, you know, but, it doesn't deal with the intersection that exists with, you know, 374.
I think I think we've all at some point complained about the infinite wisdom of New York State and, you you know, the agencies in government and et cetera. So I'm not, at this point, you know, supporting, you know, getting behind, or I'm presenting the resolution as presented. It's going through the highway department as well, and, you know, everybody needs to do their homework.
Yeah, I think we need to go back to them and we need to tell them what it is we wanna see. They're only doing this for one reason, and one reason only, and that's because the ARC is on their back. Okay, the ARC has got a very well-oiled litigation unit that goes after these issues, and this obviously is in their crosshairs.
But I would also argue, Marty, that it may meet a need and not put a burden on us, and there should be no reason that we, you know, don't do our work to support it though, too. So, I mean.
I'm not saying we shouldn't support it.
No, but I'm saying it for kind of the public conversation of things, you know, that we, you know, we can do our homework, have the conversation with Jim, see where he stands on it, really as the person that maintains our sidewalks. I look to his expertise, for, you know, what his opinion on this is, and I would imagine this isn't the first time that they've engaged in a conversation with us at some level, you know, maybe not a formal resolution, can't say for certain.
But it should address crossings for 374 to get to these sidewalks. I mean, it should be a total package, we should be able to see the whole thing.
Well, they did the same thing, remember when they did Revere, coming up Route 3, Revere's.
You've got some handicapped people that live in that area that are wheelchair bound,
Right.
okay? And that's where this is coming from, in my opinion.
Yep.
And these people are riding in that roadway. And if they can't, you know, they can't get up out of the road. But it needs to be, you don't go from the Harney Bridge and then stop. You gotta take it all the way down.
I'm not gonna comment on it until I have more opportunity to talk with Jim.
Yeah,
So,
well,
I mean,
my only comment is I'm just looking at the map.
so, all right. Is there any other comments for the good of the order?
I just wanna say one thing, going back to the, report from Rick.
Yep.
For buildings and grounds. Rick said that this was the first report he's ever written, and for us, for people who spend their days working behind a computer, this is easy to put together and send out, but he's not used to working behind a computer, and he's like, it's so, I guess, endearing and exciting to watch him like jump into these projects, simple as they may be, with his enthusiasm and his completely different skill set, and really be the department head here and take care of all of these smaller tasks that he's not used to doing. He learned a new skill to create this report, so.
No, I would agree with you. I've been very excited about seeing his leadership in this role, and he's serving the town well. And, you know, and that's why I say we really need to get to looking at kind of quote-unquote backfilling some stuff to continue to support the needs of the department and move some stuff forward. But I think we constantly have a responsibility to look at different models, and certainly sad to see Art Pass no longer with us. But, you know, look at just models, you know, that are there. You know, we did it with, you know, the planning department, you know, while we're gonna bring somebody on to that department, we're not gonna bring in, you know, a senior planner. You know, we're gonna bring in a planning technician. We're gonna look at, you know, some different things that are going on, so. Any other thoughts, opinions, comments, or issues? Good for the order. All right, seeing nothing, we shall adjourn at 6:24. As they say, Drive safe.
And when the hairpinners and the Ronnies tonight,
Well, you can, I just don't think that they would appreciate it.